Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Azeroth Daily for the 28th of January 2011. My name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of WoW news and comment. In the headlines today, there have been some minor changes to the PTR build in 13580, and most of these changes have actually been data mined by MMO Champion, as opposed to officially announced. So, once again, do take them with a grain of salt, and MMO Champion is the place to read all of them. You may wish to pay attention if you're a mage, however, because the spells Fireball and Frostfire Bolt have both been given significant reductions in base mana cost, so that should address some of the concerns of the mage community. In a roundabout way, to encourage people to use authenticators, or perhaps reward them for doing so, Blizzard has launched a contest in which you can win an iPad, and all you need to do is send in a cute screenshot of your Corehound puppy. Now, obviously, you can't have this pet unless you've got an authenticator, so that, I believe, is the motivation behind that, and they'll be picking 2 winners every month to win an iPad. Bear in mind, however, this contest is only open to those in the United States and not in the states of North Dakota, Vermont, Connecticut, or Maryland. If you live in any of those states, I'm afraid you're out of luck thanks to your local state's competition laws. Blizzard has released a special wallpaper of McTheridan, and it's quite the nice wallpaper indeed. Very, very cool. Well worth downloading, available in a variety of different resolutions. Link is in the description below this video. And do me a favor, don't be like Scraw-ish-shank and say, disappointed extremely, to be honest. The characters facing him are wearing BC gear by the looks. At least if you're gonna make a Cataclysm wallpaper, keep it Cataclysm. Spot the guy who just started playing in Wrath. Blizzard Europe has launched a poll and feedback thread in regards to the websites available for you via Battle.net. If you have any feedback to give, if you like it, don't like it, you want to leave something constructive, then you can do so in the description below this video. And with that, it's time for your Daily Blues. Apollos was being a sneaky individual with his thread taunting Blizzard, where in fact he's not talking about Blizzard Entertainment at all. Terrifying, I was confused by this. Nethera responds, tongue-in-cheek, saying, bear in mind, there's always vengeance in the form of slush. That's right, it's getting ready to slide down your leg into your boot, even as we speak. Terrifying, is it not? Thread posted by Nordal on the subject of how to encourage people to tank, and I would actually think he's bringing up a couple of valid points. There is evidently a tanking shortage again. You know, they brought in an entire class to try and alleviate that. That didn't seem to work out for them, did it? There are some good responses here by both Nethera and Daxari that I would recommend that you do read, with a wide variety of possible solutions and indeed explanations as to the lack of tanks. Unfortunately, those explanations don't go quite far enough to fix the lack of tanks. Definitely worth a read, though, nonetheless. The mindset is quite intriguing. And with that, it's time for your daily grind. Now, the lunk line is a little tricky to do if you aren't actually following through all the quests, if you just want to cherry pick them. But you can trigger the next part of it by killing a glassweb spider. He will then appear, and he will give you an alternative, which will allow you to complete the quest you are supposed to be on, which involves getting spider venom. In this case, you don't have to worry about killing them, because you only need to weaken them to allow Lunk to ride them around, and then you can scoop the venom off his chest. Disgusting. Whatever the case, it's a really innovative and cool way to present an alternative, pacifistic approach to the game, and I have to wonder if Blizzard is actually going to take that into account, because considering the amount of slaughter and genocide that goes on in WoW, I'm quite surprised it still remains teen-rated. Oh yes, I forgot. Violence is entirely fine, but one exposed breast or a swear word and it's M-rated for you, boy. Western hypocrisy. And with that, it's time for your weekly feature. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Postcards from Azeroth. Now, the theme that I gave you guys to fill me in on and provide me with tons of great screenshots, which you have in abundance, was the idea of changing perspectives. I asked you to give me a shot of something particularly normal that you might have seen before, but from a different angle or perspective that changed the idea and indeed changed the way that it looked. And we've got a number of people that did indeed grasp the concept and provided some fantastic shots, so let's kick it off right here. We'll start off with this shot of Desolace right here, which is a nice change of perspective, not only from the angle that it's shot at, but from the fact that it makes Desolace look really interesting, which of course is still a lie. While plenty of people submitted shots of Stormwind, I like this one particularly for being quite selective. Very cool view there of what appears to be the Stormwind Palace. And we've got this one right here. Yes, this is a change of perspective. I too was really overjoyed to be able to fly over this area because, of course, you weren't able to do that. So there you go. That, of course, is the one and only Anchorage. In fact, it's both the ruins and the temple all in one. And speaking of raid dungeons, here's one. This is Zul'Gurub from the air. No longer a raid dungeon. It's very odd to see it from this particular perspective. I don't think I'm going to ever get used to that, honestly. We got this one, which is awesome, actually. This has been around for a while, but it's the first time that I've seen it. This is the back gate to the Dead Mines. And yeah, I suppose it would make sense that they had a back gate so you could actually get the ship out of it. Big fan of that one. We've got this one right here, which is a very cool shot of Stratholme, which is still burning after how many years? And you can't actually fly over this bit here, but this is just from before you actually go in there. So you get a look at what appears to simply be a foggy, smoky area, as well as the burning remnants of this particular town. This one right here shows an interesting look at Karazhan. Not only does it have the Zul'Gurub canopy in the background from what I can actually see over there, at least I believe that's what it is, but what you've also got are these two live griffins at the top and another entrance. I actually don't ever remember seeing that, so that is very cool. We've got this one right here, which is your classic bird's eye view shot, which looks absolutely fantastic. And this is, of course, of the port of Booty Bay. And you also notice there that the dock appears to be in the shape of the number J. The number J. This one is absolutely fantastic. Big fan of this one. This is of the huge troll temple type place. You never realize just how freaking big it is until you're able to view it from the sky. And we've got this one, which is just fantastic. Like I said, loads of people submitted something like this, but this gives a great, nice perspective on almost the entirety of Orgrimmar in a single widescreen shot, so there you go. And this one is awesome, because it demonstrates just what mistakes Blizzard have actually made in the way that the geography of Azeroth actually works. You've got 4 different areas converging here in a way that makes absolutely no freaking sense. This is not how geography works, Blizzard. Seriously. And the winner, ladies and gentlemen, this indeed is changing perspectives. It comes in from Rebecca, who took a bird's eye shot very close in of a whirlwind, which actually resulted in this amazing effect that completely changes the way that it looks. Huge fan of that one. Really, really cool indeed. Very artistic. So congratulations, you win a 60-day time card. Get in touch and we'll get it all sorted out for you. The next theme for the Postcards from Azeroth will be announced on Monday's show, and with that, it's time for the mailbox. It is perhaps a little bit cruel for me to actually read this out, but I'm gonna do it anyway because it's too frickin' funny. It comes in from Trachunia, who says, "Hi TV, love the videos. I'm a frequent WoW player on the EU server Sporagar, and we used to have a guild on our server called the Goon Squad. You may have heard of them on the forums. They were a horde guild and were certainly less than reputable. They charged real-life money to join the guild, which to my understanding is illegal within WoW, and staged events like bringing an invincible mob into a city and claiming it was for the members only to trade their weapon skill levels. They would also stage mass ganking in certain areas and always claim to be the best PvP, PvE, and RP guild on the server. At one point, they were talking about transferring to Alliance, which none of us wanted, because we'd like to at least have the option of killing them. They then claimed that Blizzard were going to pay for this, which I do not believe, although our server is populated mainly by Horde. To try and banish the guild, we threatened to take the name before they could make the guild on Alliance, and they claimed that they had copyright on the guild name. I don't believe this, and I would like to see your opinion on the whole fiasco." I'm afraid you can't do anything to them. They are protected. I have to say, I did spend an awful long time in my house staring at this particular mail. This one comes in from Liam, who says, "I'm not afraid to admit I'm a bit of a noob, but I am willing to learn and have been trying quite hard. However, I joined my first heroic with the correct gear, and after being fairly self-assured in all the tactics, I needed to learn. However, on the first encounter in the lost city of Tol'vir, I messed up as I turned off projected textures to help with some graphics issues. I didn't see the range of the bombs on the ground that resulted in me getting kicked from the group for dying. I can appreciate that people prefer not to have noobs in the group, but it was an honest mistake and easily corrected. But they didn't seem to even want to give me a chance. It seems to be like a bit of elitist intolerance, or maybe I'm just getting defensive and should have made sure the mistake didn't occur beforehand. I just wanted your opinion on the subject." Yeah, that's excessive, honestly. You're gonna kick somebody for dying in a dungeon? Dying in dungeons? That never happens. Especially not giving them a chance to explain themselves. That does seem to be unbelievably heavy-handed. As far as I'm concerned, if somebody makes a mistake, okay. It's if they repeat the mistake and don't learn from it, that's when I start to have problems with them. Although it does highlight a rather interesting thing, which is that this would not be the only boss on which turning off certain graphics options, or at least lowering them, actually has a negative effect on your ability to play the game. And to me, that seems like something Blizzard should absolutely resolve, bearing in mind their engine is already horribly inefficient as it is. Optimization in that regard is something that I would view as very important. This one comes in from Diogo, who says, first of all, I have to say I'm a big fan of the work. Now to the subject of my email. I've been recently looking at an interview with one of the Blizzard employees talking about the possibility of WoW going free to play. It's true that the free-to-play market has been rising, and lately there's been a number of former pay-to-play games turning to free-to-play, most recently Champions Online. So I ask, why shouldn't WoW become free-to-play? Surely not now, because the game is too profitable, but since Blizzard has the microtransaction system installed in their service, people are already accustomed to it. What's your opinion on that matter? Do you think the game would lose its quality as a free-to-play? And also, since you're into the business, will MMOs in the future only be free-to-play? Continue the excellent work, and sorry for any English errors, it's not my native language. Oddly enough, it's better spelled and better written than the majority of the English emails I get, and these people are from Britain and America, and they don't have any excuse, so there you go. Free-to-play game does not necessarily mean a degradation in quality. I'd like to cite two prime examples, DDO and, of course, Lotro. DDO actually got significantly better after it went free-to-play and is, in my opinion, one of the best MMOs out there. If I had the time, I would still be playing it. Lotro was a good game to begin with, and I have not noticed any particular outcry over a vast degradation in quality since it went free-to-play. Free-to-play is a good model, but it depends exactly on how it's implemented. Some implementations of it are awful, some are really, really good. You see Champions Online going free-to-play because in reality it barely had any subscribers. I am very surprised that Star Trek Online hasn't done this already, bearing in mind that I don't even think people would actually accept that, because Cryptic are really bad when it comes to microtransactions. They are way worse than Blizzard, actually. Loads and loads of microtransactions in the game from the very outset and still charging a full subscription fee for a game that was blatantly unfinished. I don't see why it would lose quality. As to whether or not all MMOs are going to be free to play in the future, I don't think so. The rationale behind that is that it severely limits the budget that you have for actually making the game. I mean, what you're asking for from either a publisher or a venture capital company is a huge amount of money to develop an immensely complex game, and then you're saying, oh, well, we're just going to give it away for free and hope that people pay microtransactions. You cannot rely on that. You absolutely cannot. I mean, you can't have big MMO projects unless they're funded by subscription fees, because then you can actually have a clear projection as to how much you're going to make back in the first X number of months, so you can justify that to your investors and to your publisher. You can't do that with a free-to-play game. I think the model is becoming more and more popular, and will continue to grow to be popular, and maybe lower-budget MMOs will absolutely be using that, and they will be going to that route first as opposed to subscription. But is it going to be the future? Well, I think that a lot of companies are scared of going up against WoW, and since people already have a WoW subscription, they won't maybe be willing to pay for a second one, which is why I think free-to-play is actually becoming a popular model right now. But WoW does have a limited shelf life, and I think there will be room in the future for more subscription-based MMOs, but it's going to require WoW to take a very significant fall in both revenue and player base in order for that to happen on a regular basis. There are some exceptions, of course, and we see them. We see Rift, we see the Old Republic, and they have the budget and hopefully the marketing clout to actually make it. But then again, there's plenty of games that have tried that, Warhammer Online, a bunch of others as well, that simply did not work out in that regard. So, a popular model, yes. Replace the model entirely? No, I don't think so. Okay, folks, thanks for watching Azeroth Daily. Bear in mind, Azeroth Daily goes out on weekdays, so it will not be on Saturday and Sunday. You will see other content on the channel over the weekend. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.